Alrighty team, welcome back to Kinstretch this week. Really excited for this unit or overview, if you will, today. Today I'm going to be covering the wrists and the elbows. So this is probably one of the units that I need the most, just because of climbing and kettlebell training and all of the grip engagement that takes place in generalized strength training. But a lot of you guys may need this because if you're not using your wrists very often or in lots of different positions, or you're not using your elbows, then you've probably lost a fair amount of mobility. So just like the other units, spine, hip, shoulder, we'll go over kind of the movement and the function of the wrist today. And then we'll go over all the different ways to increase mobility, or increase range of motion, and then how to strengthen that range of motion as well. So you're really only going to need a couple things today. And actually, I don't have the one that I really want the most. So let me just get this pad out, and maybe a box or something. This might work. All right, so the best thing actually to use is a couple different books, but if you have something flat that you can stack up on, we'll need that for the wrist and elbow work. So like I said, a couple books actually usually works best, and then a dry erase marker is great for some of the elbow work. However, so is a hammer, and I'll show you how to use that. Alternatively, you can use any kind of object that is long and straight. I may even experiment with this big bolt that we normally use for our climbing equipment. So lots of different tools here, but that's really all you're going to need. We'll spend most of our time on the floor today in quadruped or in kneeling positions. If that's too intense for you, then you could do everything standing up and just do it on a table or on a countertop. So let's get started with cars, and then we'll rock and roll. Beginning with the neck. Bring your chin to your chest. Look to the right armpit, lean the right ear back. Eyes up to the ceiling. Look over to the left shoulder. Left armpit down to center, reverse. Look to left armpit, left ear back. Eyes up. Right ear back towards your back right pocket. Look to the right armpit. Down to center, number 2. It is hot in here, man. This is a morning session for me, but it is already 88 degrees in here. Number 3. And reverse. And T-spine, so arms across the chest, fold down. Just imagine you're doing the exact same thing you did before. So you're looking towards the right armpit, if you will. In this case, we're shifting your chest towards the right hip. Right shoulder leans back to the back right pocket. Chest centers to the ceiling. Left shoulder to the back left pocket, over towards that left hip. Down to center, reverse. Left hip. Back left shoulder to back left pocket. Chest center to ceiling. Right shoulder to back right pocket. Down to the right hip. Down to center. Number 2. Just drawing a big circle on the ceiling with your shoulders, or like almost with the top of your head. If you squeeze your butt hard here, that'll prevent your lower back from participating. And reverse. Alrighty. Next, shoulder blades. Shrug, forward, unshrug, back. Shrug, forward, unshrug, back. Shrug, forward, unshrug, back. Reverse, forward, shrug, back, unshrug, forward, shrug, back, unshrug. One more, forward, shrug, back, unshrug. Whew, I guess it's really humid in here too, compared to normal. Oh man. All right, shoulder proper. Right arm comes across the midline, bicep grazes the cheek as you come to overhead position. Palm rotates forward and out. Reach back behind you. Reverse, reach back, external rotation. Find that overhead position. Come across and down. Let's go left side, across the body. Bicep grazes your cheek, come to overhead. Palm forward, palm out. Sets up internal rotation as you reach back and come down to meet the hip. When you meet the hip, your palm is actually facing out, thumb is back behind you. Reverse, reach up and back. Externally rotate, come up to overhead and across the body. Right side, again, number 2. And left side, number 2. Number 3, right. Reverse. And the other side. All right, elbows, palms are facing forward. Bend the elbows, turn palms away, extend, turn, flex, turn, extend, turn, flex, turn, extend, and reverse. 2, 3. And the wrist, obviously we'll be going into this a little bit more later, but for right now, we're just working through cars here. 2, 3, reverse. 1, 2, 3. Left wrist. 1, 2, 3, reverse. 2, 3. Hips. Generally, I like to hold on with the right hand and then move the right hip. I kind of lean into a wall for support, but that also allows me to challenge external rotation. So external rotation is a little bit harder if I work this inside leg versus the outside leg when you're leaning into your support. So here we go, right hip, right foot over left, flex the hip, keep that foot to the inside. Open up the hip, internal rotation, come back to meet the other knee, reverse. I can't believe how hot it is in here. This is crazy. Number 2. And number 3. And the other side. Left foot over right, flex the hip, which means lift the knee, open, internal rotation, reach that foot back behind you, try to come back and meet the knee, reverse, out to the side, foot drops under and leads the way back forward. Number 2. And number 3. My hips are still never that great. All right, for knees and ankles, let's go ahead and get down to the ground. Okay. For knees, bend the right knee. Heel stays on the floor. We're going to do capsular knee cars, so we're just rotating here, spinning the shin out to the right, in left. Otherwise, you could think clockwise, counterclockwise. Should be pivoting under the knee. Thigh isn't moving. Foot is only moving because it's getting taken along for the ride. So if I keep my shin right where it is, and I just move my foot back and forth, you can see there's not really much motion there at all. That's all ankle. If I allow the shin to dictate much more movement becomes available. Left side. These are capsular cars. Again, when you are rotating, you're putting small stresses on the joint capsule, contributing to that capsular health, as well as capsular communication between the joint and your brain. And then next, let's go to the ankle. So hook your right arm underneath, lock that shin in place with the left hand, circles at the ankle. 3. I like to get 5 on the ankle. It's just that extra important joint. Everything you do is through your feet. Always. Almost always. Unless you're doing crazy amounts of pull-ups or hanging. 4, 5, reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you know what, while we're here, why don't we just work toes, since I haven't really gotten much practice with that recently. So bend the right knee. You could still hold it in place like your ankle cars if you want. And let's try to keep the big toe down and lift the little toes. 1, 2, my foot is already like, why are you doing this? 3, mega cramping. 4, 5. If you have trouble with this, you can hold those toes down with your hand so that you can move the target one. So now little toes down, big toe up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All toes up, fan them down from the outside in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the other side. Big toe down, little toes up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Little toes down, big one up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All toes up, fan them down, little to big. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, so let's begin. Again, we are looking at the wrist and the elbow today. So you know, small joints, ones that we don't really think of as having to train to be more flexible, but can generally be very important depending on the activity we're doing. So climbing, rowing, swinging kettlebells, gymnastics, something like that. You know, if you're not thinking in terms of sports, but you're thinking in terms of hobbies, I mean, there's a lot. If you are an artist, if you're a piano player, if you are a sculptor, if you are a gardener, all of these things are going to require wrists and elbows that function well. So let's first talk about cars at the elbow. So you have capsular cars, and then you have your linear cars, or I mean, not fully linear because there's still a rotational capacity, but capsular cars at the elbow would just be pronating and supinating the hand. Another way of thinking about this, though, because people see their hand move and they think, well, why is this the elbow? You have two bones, your ulna and your radius. And what happens here is when you have your palm up, they are parallel to each other, those two bones. When you turn your palm down, the radius rotates over the ulna. So if these are the two bones, it's almost like it kind of goes like that, forms an X or crosses over somewhere in the middle and then comes back. So the rotation is actually these two bones sort of moving in that space. If you have a hammer, this is a good place to use it for capsular cars. They're quite challenging. Let's bend the elbow to 90 degrees, and you're going to try to take this hammer from a straight line over here to parallel on the other side. You can kind of pin that elbow in and then begin the rotation there. Let's do 5, 1. Try to move nothing but that elbow. 2, I don't know, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. Again, have the hammer today. It's going to be really, really valuable for some of the stuff we're doing. Same thing over here, capsular cars. 1, 1, 2, 2. You can explore more range if you have it. 3. You can see I have a lot of the external rotation range there. 4, 5, 5. All right, so that's capsular cars at the elbow. Our regular cars encompass flexion and extension, or if you will, bending and straightening of the elbow. So let's also review that really quickly just to make sure that you're getting that right. So now we're going to be combining both the rotational nature of the capsular car and performing flexion, extension, linear motion of the joint. So palms face forward, turn them down, flex, turn palms towards you, extend, palms down, flex, towards you, extend, down, flex, towards you, extend, keep the palms forward now, flex, turn, extend, turn, flex, turn, extend, turn, one more, and relax. Now, I'll try to zoom in here. If you look at my bicep, when I rotate my hand, there should really be minimal movement at the bicep. So if you try to turn your palm over and you see something like that, that means that for you to turn your hand, you actually have to rotate from your shoulder. That's not something that you want to see when you're trying to perform the elbow movement. So what you can do is hold on to your bicep and now just move as far as that elbow will allow. All right. So it's key to be able to separate the shoulder rotation from the elbow rotation when you're trying to train the elbow. Normally they work together, but that becomes really important. So let's continue to use our hammer. Hammer is great because it's got a little bit of extra resistance here. We are going to, let's see, we need to go this way. Okay, great. So grab one of your, or a few of your supports, which are your books or what have you. What you are going to do is you're going to place your forearm on the ground, and you could do this in a couple different ways, okay? So I'm kneeling, but if I extend my legs out behind me, I can take what's called the Sphinx position. So I'm up on my forearms and my hips and my legs are on the ground here. This is a great way to train elbows. What we're going to do first is work on the external rotation range of motion here. So what you want is an object that's pointed out of the pinky side of the hand so that when that object gets lifted up, your elbow gets twisted into further external rotation. So I've actually, I guess, got a fair amount of external rotation here. These books may not be very helpful since, I mean, I can go pretty far. Let's see where my fingers kind of lose it. Right about there. So for me, a kettlebell is going to be more appropriate. You may find that just having a book or some sort of object here is going to be enough to make it so that you can't lift off that object. So if you notice, I can lift off this object here. That means that that is too short for me. So I'm going to try, this is a pretty heavy bell, but I'm going to try to wheel this over here. And I'm going to use the kettlebell as my platform for Pales Rails contractions. So now you can see the hammer is up on the belt. it's really hard for me to lift off of that object. So this is probably the right strategy for me. So where your other arm is doesn't really matter too much, but if you want to grab onto that bell, you might be able to create some more tension by squeezing into that bell. So let's just hang here, allow this setup position to create a little bit of a stretch across the elbow tissues. Try to see what's going on here. Hopefully I don't drip all over that. Okay. So when you're ready, let's begin Pales rails contractions. So these contractions are meant to help you build range of motion in that tissue. So when you're ready, start pushing the hammer into whatever object you're using, ramping up to your safest, greatest effort for 10. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Try to lift that hammer off. Should be a really intense bicep contraction. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax for a minute. This is such a funny looking setup. Anyone who sees this video and doesn't do it is just going to think I'm insane. Okay, here we go. Second set. Driving that hammer into your object or into that platform. When you're ready, safest, greatest effort for 10. You're trying to push that hammer through the object. 5, 3, 2, 1, and try to lift it off. 3, 2, 1, and relax. We got one more. This hammer actually works nicely because it just gets jammed into the handle there. So it's not going to slip. When you're ready, drive hammer down into the object. Safest, greatest effort for 10. 3, 2, 1. Try to lift it. 3, 2, 1, and relax. You can set that down. Capsular cars are valuable here, just trying to, if you will, hit save on the amount of rotation that you were able to get. Maybe like 3. You're just spinning. All right, now, other side, we're going to do the same thing, looking at the elbow external rotation. You could also call it elbow supination. I'm just going to use the same setup, even if the mobility between the two sides is slightly different. So when you're ready, start spinning that hammer into the object that you have here. Safest, greatest effort for 10. 3, 2, 1. Try to lift off that object. 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. So just a quick refresher if for some reason this doesn't make sense. Pales contractions are going to be driving the hammer down, rotating it into this object. Rails contraction, you're going to try to lift the head of the hammer off the object. That's going to be really hard if you're using a hammer versus a marker, because the hammer has a little bit of weight on the end of it, but those are the two main contractions that we're working here. All right, so when you're ready, same thing, drive into that object, safest, greatest effort for 10. 3, 2, 1. Try to lift off. Reverse direction. 3, 2, 1, and relax. And again, final set here for Pales Rails. Drive that hammer into whatever object you're using. Safest, greatest effort for 10. 2, 1. Try to lift off the object. 4, 3, 2, 1. Woo. Remove the hammer. Capsular cars for the left. Palm down, palm up. Twist into that as much as you can. Palm down, palm up. Again, keep twisting. One more. You can almost see like how hard my biceps contracting there to accomplish that. All right, so that's Pale's rails for, again, supination or elbow external rotation. Now let's look at strengthening that range of motion via passive range holds. So what we're going to do here, you'll still use the hammer. It's still coming out of the pinky side of your palm. You're going to lift that hammer up as high as you can and then try to hold it where it is with the hand that's holding the hammer, okay? So I'm going to change my position here to quadruped. So I'm on my hands, knees, and feet, just a little more comfortable right now than Sphinx because I'm over top of my shoulders. So I'll zoom in maybe so you guys can see how this works. All right, so here we go. Forearm flat on the floor. Hammer is coming out of the pinky side of your hand. You're going to lift up on that object. Once it goes as far as you can, try to hold it there for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let it come down, relax. Actually, I wonder if I could do this with a yoga block. Is that going to be high enough? Maybe. So it's stacked up on the yoga block. This is just one other way of doing it. Take the yoga block away. Try to not let the hammer drop. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I actually like my hand for this. Same thing. Bring that hammer up. Take the finger away and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's get 2 more for 5 sets. Here we go. Take the fingers away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again. So what you're doing is you're taking your elbow into it pretty close to its end range. Then you're taking the fingers away and trying to maintain that position. 5, 3, 2, 1. Oh, man. All right, other side. No sense in wasting time here. Go ahead and switch sides, pick that up. Take the fingers away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Prop that up again. Bring it up. When you're ready, take the fingers away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This side is a lot harder for me to maintain contact with the ground. All right, let's see. There we go. That's better. All right, same thing. Take the finger away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lift it up. I think that was number 3. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax. And again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Now, we'll take a little break. Those muscles are probably feeling quite fried. What we're going to do last is passive range liftoffs. So you are going to set an object slightly lower than your end range, and then you're going to repeatedly lift the head of the hammer off that object, okay? So the yoga block is a fair amount smaller than the top of the mass of the kettlebell, so this should work pretty well. So if you watch here, I'm using the block to create a platform, and then my objective is to lift off of that platform. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the other side. The fun part of this is we're going to do all this same stuff again, but we're going to do it for pronation of the elbow or internal rotation. Here we go. 1. You can see small amount of liftoff here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can see bicep contracts here. 8, 9, 10. All right. So little break, and then we're going to move to elbow pronation, still with the hammer. If a hammer is too heavy, find a marker or a pen or something like that. Like the hammer might have been great for pails, rails, but maybe wasn't so good for the liftoffs. Generally, for pronation, you are going to have less range of motion, so you probably won't need the same tools that you did before. This time, your palm will be facing down, but the object will still be coming out of the pinky side. So, yeah, I mean, this is going to get a lot harder. I don't even know if I'll be able to lift the hammer off of the floor. Maybe. We'll see. It's going to be tough. So, palm is down. Forearm is on the ground. Again, I mean, you know, your thumb also is going to interfere with this a little bit here. So that's getting to kind of a more difficult position. I guess we can try it. I'll try working a little bit higher up in pronation. Okay, cool. So we can work with that. So, like I said, palm is down, object is still coming out of the pinky side, so we're rotating on the opposite side from before. This is pails, rails work, so let's do those big contractions again when you are ready. So, driving hammer into the object. Safest, greatest effort for 10. 3, 2, 1. Try to lift off that object. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Should be no movement if you're truly in an end range, passive end range position. Here we go. Next set. Drive hammer into that object. Safest, greatest effort for 10. 3, 2, 1. Try to lift off. 3, 2, 1. And here we go. Oh man, really tough. Final set, drive that hammer into the block. Safest, greatest effort for 10. 3, 2, 1. Try to lift off. 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Take the hand off. Same thing as before, capsular cars. So elbow stays on the ground, lift up just enough. Focus this time on trying to get your palm towards the ground and as flat as possible. 3. All right, other side. We'll do the yoga block again. Seems to be a halfway decent setup there. All right, when you're ready, drive into that object. Safest, greatest effort for 10. 3, 2, 1. Try to lift off that object. 4, 3, 2, 1. And again, drive into the block. Safest, greatest effort for 10. 3, 2, 1. Try to lift off. 4, 3, 2, 1. So just a reminder, here we go. Last set, driving hammer into the block. You're trying to rotate it through the block towards the floor. 5, 3, 2, 1. Now try to lift the head of the hammer off that block. Even if you lean really far away, you'll probably not be able to get it if you're in the right spot. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Capsular cars here. Again, trying to focus on turning over as much as you can. Still so hot in here. Okay, all right, little break. Next is gonna be passive range holds for elbow pronation, so still challenging the same side, and then lift offs, and then we'll go from there. Now, there's still a fair amount of flexion and extension work that could be done at the elbow, which I guess we didn't really do, but I guess I can explain how to do it too. Maybe this lesson will just end up being entirely elbow overview, but we'll see. All right, so elbow pronation passive range hold. So what we want to do here is we want to lift this guy up. Our palm is starting facing down. Hammer is coming out the pinky side of the joint. We are going to rotate the top of the hammer up and try to hold it, which usually it's going to be too heavy. So I'm probably going to have to use a marker or something like that to try to hold it up. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to try the marker. Seems like that is going to be the most effective thing. What if I prop my wrist up? That may actually help a bit, and I can get better rotation. Okay, cool. So let's try it. I'm using a marker. I've got my wrist propped up on the handle of my hammer just to give me a little clearance, because the thumb gets in the way a lot in pronation. So I'm going to take that marker. I'm going to wind up. I'll zoom in so you can see. I'm going to rotate that marker up, which brings me into further pronation, and then I'm going to let go and try to hold that position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see now how much the marker drops. So I'm going to come all the way up again. This is pretty tough. And hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3 more sets. Picking that marker up, letting go, holding. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe I can stick the block in here. I think it's a little too tall. I was going to say, just so you can see that I'm trying to hold that end range position. Here we go, number 4. Marker getting pulled up. Slip the finger out from under the marker, but don't let it move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ugh. Should feel the muscles of your forearm burning quite a bit here. Here we go, last one. Holding up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Other side. Same thing. And lift up that marker and hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Twist it again. You can see, I mean, this marker is like almost vertical here if I pull it all the way, which a lot is coming from my wrist, but you still have to find the elbow in there. Slip the fingers out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pull it up. Number 3, hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, now, smaller object here. Again, this is where the books are helpful. So palm is down, marker is popped out the pinky side of your hand, and you are going to try to lift off this object. So I don't know if you guys can see. I'm zoomed in right now. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see. Oh, shit. Something just landed on me, sorry. But watch, this marker is going to come ever so slightly off that box. So this is the passive range liftoff for pronation. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. You can see thumb tends to get in the way here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Whew. Other side. Final set on the elbow for today. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This side's a little easier. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Woo. All right, so little break, and then we'll take a look at the wrist. Just gonna get some water, the last bit that I have left. Okay, whew, man. All right, wrist. Again, you could do this on a table if it's not comfortable for you to get on your hands and knees. Maybe, all right, you know what, why don't we do this? We're gonna train it one side at a time. I'm gonna teach you how to do it in a door frame. We're gonna train wrist extension and wrist flexion, pails, rails. Maybe zooming in will help, so I guess I gotta keep this nearby somewhere. Anyway. So, you could do this against a wall, you could do it against a door frame, whatever you want. Wrist extension is the ability to pull your fingers back towards your elbow. You can see here that I have fairly good wrist extension. This is probably 90 degrees in terms of the angle between my forearm and the top of my hand. Now watch, that's my passive range, so I have to pull my hand into that range. What it also means though is if I press my hand on something, I can get to about 90 degrees of wrist flexion, and that's not really an issue. For me, what the issue is actively, I can only go to like 70 degrees. So much, much different, the abilities passively and actively. We want those to be as close together to help make you strong, but also to keep you from getting hurt. So what you're going to do is square up with a wall or door frame, and you're going to press your whole hand up against the wall. You want to feel a stretch underneath the forearm. So if you can't get your whole hand against the wall when your arm is roughly level with your shoulder, then you need to take it up a little higher. And I don't know if you guys can see, but this angle is much less intense than this angle, as an example, okay? So find the position that gives you a stretch underneath the forearm. So for me, it's gonna be right here, which is, whew, that's intense. Now you want the elbow to be as straight as possible here. And if you want, you can kind of hang on or just, you know, get set up with another hand so you can create some leverage here. But primarily this bottom hand is the one that you're training. So we'll just let that stretch out for a little bit. You know, a wall actually is a better object here because you can maintain a spread of the fingers, but whatever. We're still in this wrist position, so it doesn't really matter. All right, when you're ready, let's begin pails, rails, contraction. So pails contraction, you're gonna push into the wall. Safest, greatest effort for 10. 9, 10. Rails. Try to pull the knuckles towards the elbow. Should feel top of the forearm burning. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Drive hand into the wall. Safest, greatest effort for 10. It's as if you're trying to straighten your wrist. All right, you're not pushing with your pecs like a bench press. You are trying to straighten out the wrist. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pull the knuckles towards the elbow. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm just going to do 2 since I feel like barfing. Man, that is brutal. Just a brief rep of wrist cars, so all the way around. Really accentuate that top position. That's what we're training here. Reverse. All right. Probably not enough time to really gain a major mobility improvement by just doing 2 pails rail sets, but right now I'm just trying to get you guys an idea of the setup. So same thing with the left hand. Find that spot where you get a pretty good stretch underneath the forearm. Elbow is straight. It's a little higher on this wrist, actually. There we go. Just hang out, let that stretch for a bit. And here we go. So, pails contraction, as if you're trying to straighten your wrist through the squat rack. Safest, greatest effort for 10. Three, 2, 1. Pull these knuckles back towards your elbow. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And drive that wrist. Try to straighten it through the squat rack. Safest, greatest effort for 10. 3, 2, 1. Try to pull that hand off the rack or off the wall. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax. Now for me, since I have about 90 degrees of passive wrist extension, I'm not really too worried about my pails rails work. It's the upcoming work that I'm most concerned about and getting that right. So, so what we can do here is you want to now find the place, which unfortunately is going to be really far out of the range for me, but you want to find the height at which you can keep your whole hand on the object, the wall, the squat rack, the door frame, whatever, and you want to be able to pull the palm back and the fingers. So it's not just about pulling the palm and letting the fingers bend. You need to find that spot where you can pull the whole hand back. That's where we're going to train passive range liftoffs, and then I'll show you how to train passive range holds for the wrist, because they're relatively easy, though they're not really very enjoyable. Maybe that was the bug that was on my shoulder. All right, so my hand, I'm squared off towards this frame. Right about here, I can pick my whole hand up off the rack and keep the fingers relatively straight. So let's train 10 from this position. Here we go. 1, elbow stays straight. You can even support under the elbow to try to keep it in its position. 2, 3, 4, still not high enough. There we go. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh. Other side, same thing. Arm is straight. You're trying to lift basically everything but the butt of your palm off of that object. Here we go. 1, 2, yeah, this side's worse. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Whew. Now, passive range holds are pretty easy. Just get your arm level with the shoulder. you're going to pull back until your fingertips leave, and then you're going to hold that position, okay? Again, this part's pretty easy. Maybe I can zoom in so you guys can sort of see what happens here. All right, so my arm is level. You can see my wrist is at 90 degrees. I'm just going to shift my weight back until my fingertips leave, and that's where I'm going to hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to come all the way back to this position. Now, it's important to not just passively let the wrists start straightening out. From the get-go, try to pull your middle knuckles and your fingertips towards your elbow. So create that contraction all along the top of the forearm, and then start to shift your weight back. So here we go. I'm just looking to try to see what it looks like for you guys. Wrist is at 90 degrees. Here we go, pulling back. Right there, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come back. It's really tough. Number 3, create the contraction, shift your weight back. When the fingertips disconnect, hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. We got 2 sets to go. Can't believe we've done almost an hour of wrists and elbows. It's pretty awesome. Okay, here we go. Contract. Start to shift back. Fingers leave. Hold. 5, 4. My hand's shaking. 3, 2, 1. Final set. Pull back and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Other side, here we go. Starting in that full stretch, coming back. Create that contraction. Once the fingers leave, hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And again, create contraction. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Number 3. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 2 sets to go. Pull back. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1 to go. This is something we should probably just do every day until you have amazing wrists. And pull back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alrighty. All right, guys. That is it for today. Again, these are just overviews, wrist, elbow overview today. In the past, spine, shoulder, hip. I'm not going to cover every angle, unfortunately, especially with the wrists and elbows. But hopefully this gives you something you can train. If you can practice this wrist work until you're able to get comfortable on the ground and you can start doing planks and push-ups, that's awesome and that's huge. So wrist flexion, you may not need as much. That's a really tough skill. We can always look at that in a future overview, but thanks so much for joining. Hope this video was valuable for you guys. It's awesome, awesome practice to keep your elbows and wrists healthy and moving well. And we will see you guys next week.